TV, as I like to call it. I'm your host, Melissa Krechler. I'm an identity coach, spiritual teacher, business mentor, and creator, founder of not only Just Alive TV, but also the Women Supporting Women Can Network. Today, the sponsor is the Women Supporting Women Network. And the reason why is because we as women need to stick together. We need to support each other. We need to build community surrounding women supporting women. So go and check that out. Join the Facebook group, link in the description. Shortly, we're going to be opening up a members only area where you can learn from other women supporting women. So follow all that. Anyway. I'm going to hand it over to our guest speakers today, and we have two super exciting. For our episode today, Mothers Put Yourself First. So, Alegre and Natascha, would you like to say hello?
Yes. Hi, I'm Alegre Ramos, and Natascha and I together are Beyond Your Wildest Dreams. I don't know if you want to say something, Natascha, before we get into our story.
Yeah. Well, we're moms and entrepreneurs, so we're your niche, Melissa.
Yep.
Yes. And our mission with Beyond Your Wildest Dreams is to help moms and caregivers empower themselves so they can prioritize themselves, save time, and accomplish their goals. And we do this through actionable, accessible, science-backed content.
Love it.
So just a little bit about me. I am a mom and an entrepreneur on my own. Natascha and I both have our own businesses, but Beyond Your Wildest Dreams, or BYWD, is something that we do together. And BYWD was born out of something that happened about, I guess it's 8 years ago now. I was at a point in my life where I felt like I was doing some things really well, and those things tended to be business and professional and finance things, and personal and health things I felt like were not going as well. And I've always been a planner. I love physical paper planners, and I love coming up with plans and executing on them and, highlighting things when I'm done with them. But when I went 8 years ago, I actually went on a self-guided retreat for 3 days to a monastery, as one does. And I was determined to figure out why I was having success in some areas of my life and not others. And the big aha was I come up with plans in the professional financial sides and I execute on them. But in my personal, my relationships, my health, I wasn't doing the same thing. And I think it's because these skills I learned, maybe it's because I picked them up in business school, or they just seemed very businessy to me. But when I started applying the same skills to my personal life, I really just saw a huge improvement in all areas of my life. And so about 4 years ago, I started informally coaching some family and friends on planning and why it works. And Natascha was one of those people. And originally I had the idea to come up with a paper planner, to do my own paper planner. But after 5 years of experimenting with a paper planner for myself, I realized there's no perfect planner. What's really important is the thought process behind planning so that you can be flexible enough to respond to whatever life throws your way, which is, especially if you're a mom or caregiver, it's throwing you lots of curveballs. And I said to Natascha, I think this could be a philosophy, a course that we could teach people. And I'll let Natascha tell her own story.
And here we are. Yeah, I was not prioritizing myself. I was a mom and an entrepreneur, and I just felt like I was just keeping my head above the water, just barely, And I see Alegre over there just like rocking out, doing tons of things that not only is she a mom, homeschooling mom, and running her businesses, but she also seemed to be really making traction on a lot of other things that were personally fulfilling for her, that were like her own personal goals. And I'm like, how are you doing this? I'm a stay-at-home, work from home mom, and I'm, getting a lot done in my business, and I'm keeping my kids alive, but like the little things that were the self-care for myself, or ideas that I had come up with that I wanted to pursue that just kept backburnering. So I asked Alegre how she did it. She started coaching me personally. And then as I was moving forward through this philosophy and things that we're talking about, we put our heads together. We're like, we cannot keep this to ourselves. We've got to let other moms know, what the secret sauce is that we're putting together. And it is a journey though, right? It's not like we've got it perfect, perfectly figured out, and she and I, we have different styles too. So, it's a journey. There's not one formula.
I think we're all perfectly imperfect. And being able to acknowledge that and take that with us especially as mothers and entrepreneurs, we take that with us. We, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you enjoy? What do you not enjoy? Right. And talking about the routines, there's routines for everybody. There's lists and check marks. And, some people like a little bit more of a flexible routine or a relaxed routine. Some people like rigid routines. So finding what that balance looks like for each individual person is really going to make that shift. And it's amazing that you guys do that. So talking about mothers putting themselves first, I did a quick TikTok right before we started, and it was one of the best things that you can do as a mom is put yourself first. So that's our topic today. What do you think about mothers putting themselves first? I know that in the pre-screening we were talking about, sacrificing ourselves on the family altars, but that doesn't work, and that really doesn't have longevity.
Yeah. Natascha and I like to joke that, when you're on the airplane and the flight attendants tell you to put on your oxygen mask first, what they don't tell you is because if you are passed out in the aisle, no one else is getting helped. And it's the same thing with moms always putting their family first. Either they get to a point where they are mentally, emotionally, physically burnt out and they have nothing to give, right? So they're passed out in the aisle, or putting other people first constantly can lead to resentment, which I sometimes think is worse, really, than the physical or emotional burnt out, because you don't want to resent people you love. But if you don't put yourself first, that is what I have found happens. And so we like to say that self-care is healthcare. And people have this preconceived notion about what self-care is. And a lot of times it revolves around pampering and spas and salons. However, there's some really interesting reframing in the medical community about self-care. And there was an amazing article that came out in March. We've been saying self-care is healthcare for a long time, Natascha and I. But when we saw this article, we were like, yes, this article supports, we love science. So we're always looking for science-based information to back us up. And so, like, for instance, what is self-care? According to Dr. Haley Perlis, self-care is taking necessary steps to ensure the well-being of oneself, tending to any emotional or physical health needs to the best of your ability. And the irony is that when you put yourself first, you show up better in all parts of your life.
Yep, absolutely. Right?
And it's hard to do. It's challenging to do. There's a lot of cultural push towards doing that sacrificing of yourself on the altar of the family. Like there's a lot of like, a virtuous idea of, and that's not a new idea, of course. And it's completely unsustainable, especially the way things are structured culturally now, where it's rare or difficult to have a single income family, right? Where all that work that that invisible work and that unpaid work that mom used to do, is now coupled with outside of the, work outside of the home and bringing in a paycheck as well, as so and then there's nothing left for you, so and like Allegra said, then there's resentment and burnout. And it feels somewhat, sometimes there's like guilt involved with putting yourself first, or, it's not like you can say it. It's easy to say self-care, and it's easy to nice buzzwords to say prioritize yourself, but what does that actually look like? And to have it be enough in like the cultural lexicon where it shifts from it being like a guilty pleasure to like, oh no, this is like, not only this is necessary, like
yeah,
vital.
This is the first thing you should do, which is why we think that the best way to get self-care into your everyday life is with a morning ritual. Yeah. That's our suggested solution.
Yeah. You mentioned resentment, and that's a huge one that I love to talk about, because look at anybody who works. You can grow up and say, oh, I want to be a dentist, or let's say I want to be a veterinarian. And you go to school and you spend that time being a veterinarian, and you start working as a veterinarian. And then, whoever, you start a job, a career that you love and that you're excited to start, and you're looking forward to it. And the first 6 months to a year, even the first 5 years are great. And then all of a sudden you start hating going to work. You can't stand going to work. You can't stand the people that you work with. You're going home in a bad mood. That's the resentment. That's so when you are starting to, and I love my kids. I have 4 children, three bio and a bonus, and I love them dearly. But I've taught them, this is my time, right? I love you, but this is my bubble. You know, my oldest daughter, they come out, mom can have a hug. You know what? Right now, I need my bubble. I'm not physically, I don't want to be touched right now. I need my bubble. Or mom, can you do this for me? No, not right now. I'm doing what I need to do. Give me 5-10 minutes. I'll come and help you. One of the things that I think parents or, mothers, parents in general, but mothers particularly, is that we have to be at that beck and call, right? We have to be there every step of the way. Oh, you need me to wipe your butt? Okay, I'll be there. You need me to make you something to eat? Okay, I'll be there. My youngest daughter is horrible for coming in and going, Mom, I'm hungry. Mom, I'm hungry. Mom, I'm hungry. And I'm like, just because you're home from school today doesn't mean I'm not working, right? Doesn't mean that I'm going to drop everything to feed you every half an hour because you're on a growth spurt, whatever that looks like. And we start to resent them. We start to not want to do things with our kids or not want to do things with our partners, not want to take them out and go to the park or anything like that because we're starving for what we need.
Absolutely.
And that resentment comes in, huge resentment. And then the guilt and the shame and the blame. And honestly, it's not, because I wake up, and you're talking about morning routines. I wake up, I play on my phone, I yell at the kids. Well, not yell at the kids, but I'll call across the room and I'm like, it's time to wake up. And then I text my oldest daughter, who's, bedroom is downstairs. And I'm like, are you awake? Yep. Okay, good. And then I'll play on my phone for the first 10-20 minutes. Then I get up, I get ready, I get them ready, I take them to school, I come home. That hour is my time. When I get home, it's me time. I don't take appointments. I don't, somebody asked me today, well, could you do an earlier appointment? And I'm like, nope, my day starts at 9:30. I am not available for anybody or anything between 8:30 and 9:30. That's me time. And I do whatever I want to do, whether that's watching TV, playing on my phone, cleaning, whatever I feel like doing in that moment. And that for me is self-care.
Yeah. And everyone's morning ritual is different, right? Like mine does happen first thing in the morning. Natascha's is actually split up into 2 parts because that works better for her day. So
we're going to have to drop off.
Yeah. So we don't tell people what should go into their morning ritual, nor how to structure it. We simply give people a framework to think about putting together a morning ritual, and then some science-backed information regarding how to best turn that morning ritual into a habit. Because when something becomes a habit, it's much more likely to happen. I love reading about habit formation. It's one of my favorite things to do because, the human brain is accosted with tens of thousands of decisions every day. And like 90% of them are done habitually, automatically. And so if you can reinforce habits that serve you, that help you live the life you want to live, then that's something you can take off your plate in terms of, oh, I have to go do that thing. No, because your brain's going to remind you to do that thing because it's a habit. And so that's what the rest of the book talks about, really, is about habit formation to help make it easier for you to implement your ritual.
Yeah.
Melissa, I love how you're talking about really guarding your time around the self-care and your time. In fact, Alegre and I we do IG lives every Wednesday morning, and that was our topic today, was guarding your time, so that, because that is important. And you start making concessions like, okay, well, I will put this one appointment in, right? And then next thing 2 weeks, maybe you do it again, or next thing you really have not prioritized yourself, and it becomes, like Alegre was saying, it becomes a habit where it's just like, you have to guard it at first, and then afterwards, and then people around like, oh yeah, Melissa, you're not going to get to her until 9:30.
Right.
You know what I mean? People around you start to respect those boundaries, and it's super important that you guard that time, and that you find those ways to recharge yourself, because otherwise, like you said earlier, you'll be depleted to the point where you're just not going to be available in the way. And I know me, if I'm not, if my tank's empty, like, I'm quick to yell. I'm quick to be, upset. I'm like, I'm already annoyed. Hey, mom, what? Like they haven't even asked me yet. My kids do know if they ask me something in the morning, they're like, hey, mom, wait, have you had coffee yet? I'm like, no, we'll wait.
And I also want to address one fallacy that I hear frequently is that, oh, well, my family should know. My family should know that I need time to myself. My family should know that I'm not available. It's like, let's just put that aside. No one is a brain reader. No one's a mind reader, right? And if this is something you want, you need to look out for it. No one else is going to do self-care for you.
Yeah. And what if you taught them? I love that you brought that up, because what if you taught them as moms? And this is the huge part I think people forget. As moms, as mothers, when your baby's born, you are literally at their beck and call when they cry. Is it a hungry cry? Is it a change their diaper cry? What do they need, right? From the day they're born until they start to be self-sufficient. And I say start because, oh my goodness, that takes a while. But when they start to become self-sufficient, you're still in that mommy mode. You're still in the, oh my God, you cried. What do you need? Do you need this? Do you need that? Like you're on helicopter pilot, right? Like you got to be focused all the time on that kid. And that's not a bad thing, but you've taught them that. Once they start to notice, my 8-year-old, soon to be 9-year-old, is manipulative. And I know she's manipulative. And so I'll catch her because her dad still, like, if she cries, he's like, she'll go to bed. I'm going to use this story. She'll go to bed and she has a lowered immune system. So she does get sick a little bit more frequently. But she goes to bed, she's coughing. I give her cough medicine or whatever, holistic. We have holistic medicine and non. So I'll give her the holistic medicine. She'll go to bed. She'll start coughing. My husband will go in there, and my husband will go in there, and my husband will go in there, and my husband will go. And this goes on until like 2 a.m. until I'm finally woken up and I'm like, no, I go in there and I'm more the gruff person. So I go in there and I go, no, I understand that you're coughing. I understand that it sucks. I understand that it, if it hurts, if it's irritating, if you're having trouble sleeping, I get it, but you need to stop. You've had what we can give you. I can't do anything else. It's time for you to go to bed. But she'll use it, right? And when I go in there and give her that speech, she's done for the night. She will literally go to bed and I will not hear from her again until the morning. And she learned that when she cries or whines or calls dad, doesn't matter how late into the morning it gets, he will come running. But if she gets mom up, mom's going to tell her, okay, I love you. I respect and I validate that it sucks right now, but you need to go back to sleep because it's not going to get any better. Right. And then it's done. So they learn. Kids' behaviors are learned. I had a situation the other day and it relates and it doesn't relate, but again, learned behavior. I witnessed one of my daughter's classmates be racist to their teacher. And it was just like, what are we teaching our kids? My kid will come up and say, Mom, I need something. I understand that you're doing something. Can you help me after? They respect my time. They respect my space and they respect themselves because I've taught them how to do that. Right. For all you mothers out there, if you're not putting yourselves first, if you're stressed, if you are overwhelmed, if you are burnt out and resentful, you're teaching your children that. You're continuing the cycle of, I have to put everybody else before me. I have to think of everybody else before me. Forcing your kids to give hugs when they don't want to. All of these things we're doing, and we're redoing that cycle. Teach them how you take care of yourself and say, in order to go through life happy and healthy, you have to put yourself first. And instead of filling my cup and taking out of my own cup, we've had lots of guests on the show recently, and I'm sure you two will agree, is don't use your cup. Give from people from the overflow. Right? Have a cup and saucer, like my little plant thing here, right? Use the saucer. That's what you give everybody else. Keep your cup full. Nobody's going to do it for you.
Yeah. And I once heard this really interesting story about this person. She was a business person, and her adult son became really sick with a life-threatening illness. And she said the first thing she did was guard her self-care, because she needed to be optimally healthy, optimally rested, optimally mentally stable so that she could help him.
Yep.
And I know it's counterintuitive for our culture to think you will be a better mom if you put yourself first, but it's absolutely the truth. And I love what you said about teaching the kids to guard their own time. Like my child's an only child. And so she struggles when she has to spend a lot of time with other kids, such as like her cousins, where we'll, either staying with them for a weekend or hanging out with them for 8 hours. And I've said to her, I was like, look, it's fine for you to take time on your own.
Mm-hmm.
What you don't get to do is not come to the family event, but take a book, find a quiet space, recharge, do whatever you need to do in order to feel comfortable. You don't have to force yourself to hang out with us, but you do need to find a way to manage how you're going to interact with these people. And that's just a good life lesson, right? In general. So yeah, but that has to be taught. Some of us have these skills naturally, but most of us don't.
Yeah.
And these little places for this self-care, like, and, we've been talking about prioritizing yourself, and we've been talking about self-care. And I just want to like bring in like examples of that, meaning like, yes, self-care can be going and having a mani-pedi with a friend, for sure. That's a type of self-care, right? But it's the everyday little self-care, like we were talking about being healthcare, but it can be small little things that you carve out for yourself. And it's great that you give yourself a whole hour after drop off, right? Some parents don't have that ability, right? Because they do drop off and then they go to their corporate job or something, right? So we're talking about just even carving out like a 1-minute segment in the morning for yourself, where it's just, and this way you can like get a little wedge in there, and then it goes 2 minutes, 5 minutes, that kind of thing. And then suddenly maybe you're getting up a little earlier because you're feeling the benefits of that. And I'll just use an example. Like we have my pre-drop off routine, and part of that has been now trying to get a stretch in, like just stretch my body, right? And I'm doing it for 1 minute. That may not seem like a lot, but in that 1 minute, I'm really just getting present to like, hey, this is my body. This 1 minute is my minute, right? It doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm saying this just because maybe your viewers or listeners are thinking, there's no way I have time to create a morning ritual. I don't have time. I don't have an hour to, it doesn't have to be that. It's you guard that minute is yours. And soon that minute will be 2. I do it often in the hallway of our second story, and not behind the closed door. I want my kids to see, because I also would like for them to join me, but they're not interested. My husband, however, also way less flexible than me, has started joining me, and I want to do it in front of them. I want them to see me doing, like, it's just a forward bend. It's not complicated. I'm not, doing, down dogs and vinyasa flows. I'm not doing like major yoga routines. It's really very simple. And I want them to see, oh, mom's doing this thing where she takes care of herself, right? And she's so trying to like not keep it behind closed doors, make sure that they see it, and like you said, make sure that you carve out that space and be protective of it. But I just want to let your listeners know that it can be a small incremental change. In fact, those small incremental changes really do stack up over the course of 365 days,
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And actually what Natascha is talking about is called the Kaizen way. So there's a lot of research backing this idea of just 1 minute wedge and then growing that wedge.
Yeah. When you have kids, doing the stretches, I love that you mentioned that. Something to think about is when your self-care time, your self-help time, that you don't have to do it alone. So the fact that your husband's joining you, you want your kids to join you. If you have a young child and you want to do 5 minutes or 1 minute to 5 minutes of stretching, make it fun for them. Tell them to touch their toes. Right? Can you touch your nose? Can you touch your ears? Can you touch your knees? Right? Do the head.
Do the song.
Yeah.
Make it fun. If you want to do the breathing technique, right? Tell your kids, hey, I've got a countdown for you. And, breathe in, do the box breathing, 5 seconds in, hold, 5 seconds out, hold, right? Sorry,
Yeah.
my cat is absolutely back at it again, trying to get in my room. So I apologize to anybody hearing her scratching and meowing.
There are
But-
also other fun things you can do, like these stickers that I purchased, and I put them on all of our devices and our planners, which is a box breathing sticker.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many ways to make things fun. It doesn't have to be work. And if it's fun, you're more likely to do it.
Bathroom time. So my kids are horrible. They're again, my kids range from 8 to 21, and all of them are absolutely horrible for interrupting me while I'm in the bathroom. Mom, no, like this is me time. Of course, they have helped with my stigma of I have a bathroom issue with people in bathrooms. So they definitely make me what's the word I'm looking for? Overcome that issue. But again, having snacks, teaching your kids that you don't have to share all the time. There are specific snacks that are going to be for you. There's specific snacks for them. There's so many things as we as mothers can teach our kids. But again, it all comes down to who are your children, right? Who are your children? Because and putting yourself first, I'm going to backtrack that and flip that because I said that the wrong way. Being an identity coach myself, we all have unique identities. And as a mother, I need to know who I am. And in knowing who I am, I can honor and respect myself while teaching my children to honor and respect who they are, right?
Mhm.
Just because I want them to do something, maybe they're not going to do it my way. Maybe they're going to do it their own way. Maybe they're not going to have the same interests as I do. I was talking to my son today about, when I die, sell all my shit, I don't care. Pardon my language, but because you're not going to have the sentimental ties to it that I do. And again, it's teaching them, I have my ways, you have your ways. How can we combine them and respect them and acknowledge and honor them? Teaching your kids that putting yourself first starts with knowing who you are.
Yeah. And it's modeling, right? You're modeling for them that's important. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So is there anything else you guys would like to add about, as a mom, putting yourself first?
I would just add that I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that my morning ritual is what keeps me sane, because there are all these things that I want to do, right? Like I want to remember to put on SPF. I want to make sure I'm drinking enough water. I want to take my supplements, especially because I'm in perimenopause and supplements go from being a nice to have to a must have.
Mhm.
And what I found was that before I had a morning ritual, if I didn't take my supplements, it was like there was like a open window in my head, like supplements, and then water, and then skincare. And all these open tabs made it hard for me to focus on other things and were constantly distracting me. So my brain is so much quieter inserting those things. Again, going back to that prevention article, right? What I need to take care of myself, putting all those things into their own concise time frame means that the rest of the day, my brain is quiet and I'm focused. And that was a really wonderful unintended benefit.
Yeah, I love that. Putting yourself first by almost doing everything that you need to do, the chatter that would be in your head all the day, right? Like if you have a chore that you need to get done, and I know as mothers, we always have chores to do. I was going to curse there, but we always have chores to do. Getting, those big ones out of your way right away so that you don't have to think about them for the rest of the day. You remove that chatter and that thoughts, right? So taking your water and your vitamins first thing in the morning. Absolutely. We did an episode on menopause and perimenopause yesterday. That was yesterday's episode. I love that.
Yeah. We're both about 7 years into it. We're like, how does it last so long?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just starting. So yeah, but as long as I get to menopause at some point where I no longer have to worry about, menstrual cycles and all of that fun stuff, I'm excited to get to that point.
Yeah, can't wait. Look forward to it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we want to say is that, so we do have this book, but we also have a free video series. It is 3 short videos. They're 2 minutes long. You get one each day, and that will help you get started on creating a morning ritual. We know not everyone some people like to watch things, some people like to read. So we have, we've tried to reduce the barriers to entry for you to get this information, because we do think it's so vital for moms to know that they have the right to take care of themselves, and they'll show up as even better moms when they do.
Yeah. So if you're more of a visual person, you go to our website, bywdreams.com. You can sign up for that video series, and you'll get in your inbox for 3 days. You'll get a 1-minute video, 2-minute video for 3 days, just helping you set up all the things that we were talking about here, like getting that little wedge in there so that you can start making some self-care strides in self-care. If you're feeling like, oh my gosh, where do I even start? How can I start? That seems like such a tall order. I think we've given enough reasons in this in this stream that, if you're not yet convinced that prioritizing yourself is important and will benefit you and your family, there's more information out there about that. But, we highly recommend you go ahead and make a little wedge of time for yourself.
Yeah, putting yourself first definitely is important. All right. Well, that is our episode, ladies and gentlemen. If you would like to reach out to Alegre and Natascha, please do so. Their links are in the description of this episode. Our sponsor today is the Women Supporting Women Network. Go and check them out. Join the Facebook group. Link in the description. Thank you, ladies, for your time. I really appreciated it.
Thank you.
Melissa.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.